Do you know one of the most important factors that led to Ippo getting brain damage? It's something you won't see coming. I'll go through 2 fights to explain this. The psychological aspect is a major factor that can make or break a fight, and I don't just mean motivation. Mind games are lethal weapons that can win the fight even before it begins. One of the best examples of this happens in chapter 634. This was during the weigh-in for the Take vs Ippo fight, and keep in mind, Take was even scheduled to fight Date in the past. The fight eventually fell through. Take is such a dangerous opponent that Date was actually relieved he didn't have to fight him. Date was particularly impressed by Take's tenacity, and now watch this. Take enters the room with an intense cough and looks like he's battling a deadly lung infection. He says it's cold in Tokyo, and the air is pretty bad as well. And what's with that band-aid on his forehead? Does anyone know what that's for? Is that a Japanese thing? Ippo looks just like me right now. Like the good-hearted Ippo, he wants to know if the guy's okay. He extends his hand, but Take tells him not to come closer. I don't want to get the champion sick. What a good-hearted man. Ippo wants the best for him. Can you imagine a champion that caring? But before he can fight the champion, Take has to fight bronchitis. When the guy from the commission wants to continue the weigh-in, Ippo almost shuts the whole fight down. This has to be an effect of dating Kumi. He wants to perform full-blown surgery on the guy. But Take wants to go through with it. What a hero this man is. He takes off his clothes and shows us his 30-year-old body. That back doesn't look weak at all to me. He hits the weight limit. But Ippo is serious now. He wants to postpone the match. He doesn't want Take to fight in his current condition. But Take refuses to postpone. It took him 34 fights to get to this title match. He's pushing 35 and doesn't have much time left. No matter what he can't even finish his epic monologue because of his coughing. He says a young man like Ippo wouldn't understand. This is his last chance. And now, take a look at Ippo's internal monologue. He shows understanding for Take. No, downright empathy. It must have been hell just getting this far, he thinks. Have you no other worries than the well-being of your opponent, son? This is exactly the issue with the old Ippo. Then Take continues by saying he's glad to have the fight against such a good guy. Ippo almost falls in love when he hears that. Take-san. The admiration in his voice is clear. Take plans to fight with all he has. So, do you see what's happening here? Because Ippo doesn't see a thing. Look at him. Take smiles and tells Ippo not to hold back. Ippo almost starts crying when he hears this. Even the reporters say they think they couldn't hit him in this condition. Oh no, the poor elderly. Ippo bows and says he understands Take's feelings. He won't betray the hopes Take has placed on this fight. Let's have a good fight. Outside, Kamogawa and Yagi call it what it is. The guy was playing Ippo from top to bottom. He didn't even let Ippo get close to touch him. That was so Ippo couldn't find out he didn't have a fever. Ippo can't believe it, but it's true. All of the act just now was a play to make Ippo drop his guard, to let his emotions take over. Hawk did the same with Takamura but in reverse. He mocked him at every single opportunity and even talked trash about the body he built with blood and sweat. Not only did he disrespect his country, but he also put his hands on the most important person in Takamura's life. All that would have rattled a fighter with a fragile mentality. But Takamura somehow managed to stay focused and ignore the noise. And we all know what happened when all those emotions came out at once. Even Takamura wasn't happy that he couldn't remember his punches. When Kojima was provoking Ippo before their fight, he directly touched a couple of nerves. Ippo was so angry that everyone in the room could hear his knuckles crack. Look at how furious he stood there at the riverbank. He looked like a villain. Takamura was trying to be the rational voice in his ear, leading him away from the emotional path. Because guys like him can use emotions as a boost, but Ippo can't. And as expected, Ippo ate a giant knuckle sandwich because he dashed in like an idiot. And this is probably where all the brain issues started. He literally started hallucinating about his former opponents in his sweat drops. Then that infamous punch happened and Kojima turned into a wheel. The issue is, if Kojima had been a slightly better or stronger fighter, Ippo wouldn't have survived that initial counter. That's how costly it is to be emotional. And we've seen it from both sides. Ippo falling for nice guy tactics and Ippo falling for bad guy tactics. Being emotional doesn't work for everyone. Ippo needs to be rational and calm. He can't keep walking into every trap. I think the Ippo that wants to help people is the best version. He's detached from any trivial emotions. What the opponent says doesn't matter. Do you think Ippo is in the right mindset now? Or will he ever get emotional again? Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.